Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. And I'm your host, Reggie Kearney. And I want to welcome you to our show here tonight on Pod TV. We're glad that you've taken time out to join us and tell your friends to check us out. You can go to YouTube also and check us out on YouTube. Roku, and I think the Amazon Fire Stick. So we all around. We are all around. So I got a treat for you all tonight. Last couple of shows we did, not last week, but a couple of weeks before that, we did some shows focused on a book, authors conference, and some authors, and we're going to continue that trend tonight. And I got a great author out of New York City. Man, this man done written so many books, boy. He's about to run a big ink pen company out of business and going to probably run keyboard companies out of business. You know, he's got some good stuff. So we're going to sit around and chop it up with him for a while, get to know him and what he's doing and how you can support this dynamic author. So I want to bring on Keith Kareem Williams out of New York City.
How you doing, everybody? Good night. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, Rodney, my boy, told me about you. He said, man, you got to talk to this guy. He said,
I appreciate that.
He's turning it up. He's writing it up, So I'm glad to have you on the show tonight. And hoping that when we leave the show tonight, there'll be a number of people who have been inspired by you to, pursue their dreams of being an author.
Yeah.
You definitely got a great resume.
Thank you.
You've written a lot of books and everything, so I really like that. Now, so tell the audience a little something about yourself, Keith.
All right. Well, I'm your wonderful intro let them know. Born and raised here in New York City. I've been a full-time author since 2010. When I released my second book, I quit my job, never looked back. Been writing like a madman since. During that time, I raised my son and my daughter, so it was a little tricky juggling the single dad thing plus writing, but it's one of the best decisions I made. It gave me more time to be around because now I control my time more so than how I was employed before. So that's pretty much where my first book was 2004. I said, man, it's now or never. Like, I'm gonna jump out the window. I jumped out on faith. And so far it's worked out. It's worked out so far.
That's what it tells. Faith without works is dead, so I mean, jumping out there like that, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with, getting yourself out there. Well, let me ask you this question. What pushed you into wanting to become an author and a writer?
I always would win essay contests, writing contests, poetry contests, but I never really considered it as a career path until in college I took a fiction workshop. And for that time I had moved. I moved out of my mom's place. I'm in my own place. I worked 2 jobs to pay for college. And my professor read some of my work, and he said to me, "You pay for school?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to leave here and go to one of my 2 jobs." And he said, "You shouldn't be paying for school." Right? So after that workshop, other classmates that I had, that professor, they kept applying pressure, like, when are you going to finish that book? When are you going to finish that book? And so, I wrote the first book, and that year in 2004, right after my daughter was born, I took my whole income tax return and I just bought copies.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm sitting down in the house with this box of books, and I have no idea how to sell them, how to move them, what to do with them. And my younger brother came and he said, I got you. And within a week, all the boxes was gone. He went to the barber shop, the gas station, everywhere to people that we knew and people we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the feedback started coming in, right? People started contacting me. When is the next book? Wow, this is the best book I ever read, and so on and so forth. And so it planted the seed back then. But then life started lifing, right? And so that's why you have that big gap between 2004 and 2010. And I always tell people, like, listen, things are going to happen that will take away from maybe your dream, your passion, what you want to do. Just don't give up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now fast forward to 2010, and I was tinkering with my second book for a while. Because when your first book does well, now there's pressure. Because you can't come out with, you have to match that with the second one. So I took my time. And then when it was finished, where I was in life, I said, this is the time to take a chance now. If I try it and it doesn't work, I'll go back to get a regular job. But if it works, I'll never look back. And
Now,
so,
hold that thought for 1 second. Now, how old were your children then at that time?
my kids had to be 8, 6, 7, 8-ish, elementary school age.
Okay.
Elementary. And one of the things that made me quit my job is I was waiting to go to a meeting for my company, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in my car because I like to be early. So I'm there early and I see a man walking his daughter to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, I didn't even get to tell my kids, have a good day. Because I had to leave so early that they were asleep I take them by my aunt and leave them there. And I'm like, you know what? I want that life. It wasn't just about the books. I wanted time to be there for my kids and not be tired all the time and exhausted all the time, man. I wanted to be around. I wanted to be able to go on school trips and things like that. So that morning, the calling, all these things started happening, telling me to do this. So one day I was on my way to another meeting and I was going to the Morgan Stanley building in New York City. That's the building where you see the stock market information and more. So I'm going. But I see all these people in Times Square going to work, going into the MTV building. They look happy and excited, and I didn't feel like that. I'm just doing my job to get a check, right? So that time, they had the Blackberries with a popular phone. So the company Blackberry, I took it out on my way. I typed my 2 weeks resignation, CC'd all the owners for the company, all the other managers, and right before I went into the meeting, I hit send. And that was it. They tried to talk me out of it. Keith, you sure the economy is bad? And I looked at my boss and I said, well, I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, right? I know how to do a lot with a little. That's how I grew up. I'll be all right. I'm not scared of it. Because sometimes when you're pursuing a goal or a dream, it requires sacrifice. You may have to give up some of the luxuries that you're used to. I gave up my car. I gave up the consistent, steady salary. And now I stepped into the unknown. So I took couple steps back, but I'm glad that I did. Yeah.
So, okay. So you leave the company, you leave a good paying job
Yeah.
to do a career as a writer.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long after that was it when you put out your next book, your second book?
Well, the second book was ready when I quit.
Okay.
So that's what really prompted me. I said, let me go. And then what happened was I realized into the process of selling these copies and moving these books that I can't sit around and wait another 4 or 5 years to release a second book. And also, now that I'm a full-time writer, I don't have the excuse of I don't have time. Right? So Actually, I feel like, and I still feel like, I work more now than when I had my job.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I used to get off of work, sometimes you get off of your job and you just want to take a break and you get to relax. I'm
Right.
never relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always working. But it was worth it. So yeah, right after that, that's when I started to become more of a prolific writer. I
Mm-hmm.
got out of my own head. And once I started building up a readership and an audience, their demands prompted me to write more.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, when is the next book? We need more. When is the next book? When is the next book? So after that, I developed, my system is kind of chaotic still, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually working on about at least 3 projects at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
not I'm not really a fast writer, but
Mm-hmm.
what it is some of the books that I may come out with, say this year, I've been working on those for years.
Yeah, okay.
It's just that I'm just consistent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how did it feel when you got your first check from the second book you wrote, Being Out Your Own?
Well, the second book, because I've always been independent,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to go out, buy copies. That's what I do with my last paycheck.
Oh,
I
okay.
just bought books. Because now that forces me. There's no fallback. You know, now all I have is books that I need to turn into money. Otherwise, I'm in trouble, right? So I took my little table, went out in the street, set up my table, and just started selling books. And it took a while to learn how to do it, but necessity really is the mother of invention. Like I had to get good real fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think when and at times while doing it, you feel like you're not making traction because you're kind of making hand to mouth money. Like, okay, I went out, I sold these books, I sold these books, great, I'm paying my bills. But within the industry, am I making noise? Am I being recognized?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got invited to my first readers retreat in Atlanta, and they were paying, covering my room, me, everything, I was like, for real? I thought that they had hit me up by mistake because there was another author named Keith too. And I was like, you sure you mean me? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we know about you. Yes, you. So that feeling was incredible. To meet people who read your work that you don't even know that they've read it, but then they sit down and they could tell you just as much about your book as you know about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing feeling. That's an amazing feeling.
How did they get hooked up? How did they get turned on to you?
One reader read my second book, which is titled Open Spaces.
Mm-hmm.
She loved it so much, she just kept spreading the word and talking about it and talking about it. And then they said, no, we have to get him here. And why I was so honored is that novel is not typically their genre, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
but they still loved it. And since then, I write in many different genres, and they love all of it. And I take pride in that in my versatility
Mm-hmm.
and being able to take you out of your comfort zone as a reader, but still have you loving a book and maybe even exploring other authors in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good,
Yeah.
good, good. So, what where do you come up with your ideas for your books, or where have you come up with the ideas for your books?
Um, I like to say I'm observant and I'm a little bit nosy.
Mm-hmm.
And my imagination is always going. So I always tell I would say life because I'll sit down somewhere in a park. Sometimes I go outside, take my notebooks outside and write, and I'll see a couple. And in my mind, it just starts to go like, what could they be discussing? What are they talking about? What's going on between them? Right? I
Mm-hmm.
used to forget a lot of ideas that come into my head because everything to me is that could be a movie, that could be a screenplay, that could be a novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was one day I went into Staples because as I got older, Staples is like my Toys R Us now. I love paper, pens, notebooks. I have more than I need, but I don't know. So I go into the Staples and I'm in the notebook section and I see a book, a notebook with embossed in the cover. It says
Mm-hmm.
ideas. It felt like, and it was the only one, and it felt like it was meant for me to find it. I picked it up, and now that's where I jot down everything that comes into this brain. So, last count, I think I have about 98 plots written down in there. So I'm not running out of material anytime soon.
Right. I see. You got, excuse me, a lot to write about and everything. Now, how do you get your books into the bookstores? Do you have a distributor that you work with now?
No, I don't. I'm still independent. Still, all of my book sales are either me in person or direct sales to my audience.
Mm-hmm.
So they contact me through my website, or even if they go to Amazon, all of my stuff is direct for me to them. Okay, because I came into it in a weird era. Like, I missed the whole when Borders used to do book signings and things like that, and then the Barnes and Nobles, even here in New York, there's only a few. They're closing down, so I just kept doing. I've had people ask me when I'm out selling my books, where are you in the bookstores? And I tell them, I am the bookstore. Wherever I go, I am the bookstore. Yeah.
But have you worked with any small Black-owned bookstores?
I have.
Okay.
I have. And I've gotten sales.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my goals, is to reach out to more independent Black bookstores, because it's necessary. It breaks my heart to see like bookstores closing. You know what I mean? Because it's not just about the business of it. It's the environment. It's the space for kids and people who love reading and love books.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But now I know here in the DC area we have some, Black-owned bookstores, and have some strong ones.
Okay.
That are doing well. Poetry and Prose, they're doing good. Small Black-owned.
I need to take a trip to DC.
Yeah, and
I need to take a trip to DC.
I think we got one more too. Busboys and Poets.
Okay.
Yeah, Busboys and Poets. I think they do. They have like restaurant and poetry night and everything. But I think one of their restaurants has a store.
Okay.
Where you can sell books at.
Well, now that one of the things that I always wanted to do more is travel more, but now that my kids are adults,
right?
I have a 24-year-old and a 21-year-old. Well, he's about to be 24 in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I can travel more,
right?
So that's why I say, now I could just look at them like I was just in Daytona a couple of weeks ago. I could be like, hey, listen, y'all be good, I'll be back. So I definitely got to take a trip to DC. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. We used to be the Chocolate City.
Chocolate City, right?
Some of my chocolate done melted and everything. You know how things are changing and stuff. Right. Some of my chocolate had melted, but it's still, a large Black population in the DC metro area, which includes Northern Virginia and Maryland.
Right. Okay.
So you definitely got to come down and check it out, man.
Yeah, man.
Oh, now with your so you do a lot of your sales on online.
Yeah.
So how's your presence, your social media presence?
My social media presence is good. I tell, I've had author friends tell me I don't want to mess with this one and I don't want to bother with that. And I'm saying to them, listen, these things are a tool, right? They're available for you to get eyes on what you're doing. So every single one of them that pops up, I give it a try. And I've gotten readers on every single one. So it's really important. I get it where some people say I don't have the time, but you don't have to spend a lot of time. Just one or two, even if it's just a few posts a week, just to make people aware and to increase your visibility is important. It's important. A lot of the readers that I got I wasn't a guy on social media before. I missed the whole, I hear people talk about the Black Planet era and the MySpace era.
That was an old era.
Yeah, I missed all of it. And the only reason why I got on Facebook is because I ran into a friend from
Mm-hmm.
elementary school. We knew each other since we were 5. And so we were talking, and I was asking about some of our other friends, people that we grew up with. She's like, everybody's on Facebook. You're not on Facebook? I was like, no. She's like, you got to get up. So I made the Facebook page. But as I got on the page, I started realizing how useful it was to let people know about my books. And it's a little sticky now because as these businesses start to use the artificial intelligence and algorithms and they play those games, sometimes you get less organic views than you used to before. Because early on, if I made a post, it did numbers and I got sales. Now it's a little trickier where they kind of funnel you into buying ads to get visibility and things like that. So I'm still trying to navigate these changes that they've made, you know.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
My producer, when I mentioned Bus Boys, he went to their website and it says it's a cultural hub with full service restaurant, bar, bookstore, coffee, and events performance venue. They have a number of them in the DC area.
Okay.
I think they have like 3. They might have like 2, 3, at least 2 in DC. I think it's 1 in Maryland and 1 in Virginia.
Okay.
You know,
so I definitely got to come out because one of the things that I encourage authors to do also is you don't have to wait for book events. Have your own intimate book signings where people come, they get to spend time with you. The restaurants and the venues, depending on the venue, they're open to doing that because you're bringing people into their venue. So that's always a great thing to do.
The best place to have a book signing is at Walmart.
Right?
When them folks be, when them folks be falling up in there on weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the best place, boy. Look, go to Walmart tour.
Yeah, I remember when early on when I started, I went to a local bookstore here in New York, in Brooklyn. And I asked them to do a signing. And they was like, no, well, I said, okay. They kind of gave me a runaround. So as being as stubborn as I am to prove a point, what I did was I set my table up on the same block as the bookstore. And the workers from the store kept saying, this guy, I kept selling books all day. And I told them, I told y'all, you know what I mean? I get it. At the time, I'm not a Stephen King or a James Patterson, but I do know how to sell my books.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know how to do my thing.
Yeah.
I do my thing.
Mark also wants to know, have you ever used or have you thought about using ChatGPT in your books? Using AI?
Yeah, not to do an entire book, but I tell you what I have used this for. One of the worst things or one of the hardest things I have in terms of what I do is finishing a book and then writing a synopsis, writing a compelling synopsis, because as the author, I have all these things I want to tell you. So my synopsis would be 5 pages long. So what I've done is I've tinkered with it to make my synopsis less wordy, more precise, and it's still off. Like, I'm not worried about AI writing a book better than me, because even when you get back the results, it's off. But what I will do is look at it and say, okay, I like this sentence, or that's an interesting way to phrase that, and I'll use that. Because just out of curiosity, I asked it to do a synopsis on one of my published works. So I think what it did is scan through all of the reviews and spit back a synopsis. I'm like, that's interesting. But I don't use it. I wouldn't use it for my writing, though. No.
It's something's going to happen, man. It's already happening. And look, we can't even get around it. Can't get around.
You know what I've used the AI for, though? I have used some of the sites that could create images, because I do covers as well. So typically it won't give me a complete cover, but what I ask it to do is create elements of the cover that I need. And then I still got to do my thing and put it together and use my design skills. But you're right, it's a tool. It's there. There's no getting around it. So you might as well figure out how you can use it to help your business, whether it be creating marketing material or whatever the case may be.
Mhm. So look, Mark, the producer, he's down in North Carolina. I'm in Maryland. He's down in North Carolina, and he's responsible and he operates the Hayti Cultural Center. So
Mm.
you might want to run down to Durham, North Carolina sometime, hook up with him, and
Yeah,
hang out at the Hayti Cultural Center for
for
the new
sure.
year.
For sure. Hey, I will. That's one of that's another thing I wanted to say. Like
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite things to do is to go to events and to go different places because you just get around people that are like minded.
Mhm.
And I spend so much time by myself in my own little world
Mhm.
that I love traveling and getting out and meeting people. I would love to. I would love
Right.
to. You gotta
That's
hook that
actually where
up.
I'm at today. So yeah, you can definitely come down here. We got artwork, we got poetry slams, we got a number of other things. Actually, my boss Angela Lee, no relation, is the one that runs the center, but I've definitely been involved here, and I'm a longtime employee, and definitely have a little bit of pull in this place. So we might have to get you to come down because we
Yes.
definitely had some book signers and definitely some authors and backs and all along those lines. Matter of fact, we just finished our annual film festival. So one of the questions
Nice.
that I asked was whether you had ever thought about having one of your books turned into a movie, and also what kind of style of writing do you do? Because I know in talking to Reggie, he was telling me that you do a little bit of everything. I'm going like,
Yeah.
I'm a big murder mystery fan. Does he do that?
Yeah.
Or does he do science fiction? So, what are your different styles that you write, and what are your
Okay.
favorites?
All right. Well, in terms of the first question, I have I've written a few screenplays, and I do plan to turn some of my novels into both screenplays, and some of them are more suited for extended series. So I have both. In terms of the genres, I have to. You know what? You just I have to do a murder mystery this year because I keep hearing a lot of readers telling me that they like murder mysteries. And that's probably the only genre I haven't tackled yet. I've done fantasy, paranormal, science fiction, erotica, romance, urban. So that is the drama I have to a genre I have to tackle. Mystery.
Yeah, before I turn it back over to Reggie and everything, one of
Yeah.
the other things I was curious about is you mentioned that you had left your job and everything, and I know a lot of people are afraid to step out, afraid to step out on faith and step out on luck and everything. And I know some other people that have used their office environment to keep their self on the straight and narrow and to keep the money
Yeah.
rolling in and all
Yeah.
along those lines. So I was just wondering, what advice would you give to folks that are wanting to jump out, whether it's being an author or being any form of entertainment? And do you still have to maintain other kind of jobs? Because I've got some friends that are like in the music lane and the
Yeah.
acting lane, and some of them are still working other jobs in order to
Yeah.
make ends meet.
Yeah, you have to know what your situation is and know what you're willing to sacrifice, right? So at the end of the day, we still need to eat, right? And we still need to live. So I would say you have to tailor it and structure it and decide to yourself what you're willing to give up. Like with me, my job afforded me, I was able to drive a 530 BMW. I gave it up just because I'm like, well, if I'm going to go on this path, I want to take all my resources, invest in keeping a roof over my head, my kids fed, clothes on our back, and invest into building my career versus paying for this car. So I had to give the car up. You might have to do that. You might have to leave the apartment with the gorgeous view and get yourself a cheap spot. So it's different from person to person. You know what I mean? Because I've had to do odd jobs when the weather is bad. I can't go out and sell books,
Right.
right? So I might have to go drive Uber Eats. That's just what it is. So don't be so prideful that your life goes to shambles for the sake of your art. You still need to live. And if you're not providing for yourself or you find yourself in a horrible situation financially, guess what? It hurts your creativity too because you're stressed out. You know, you can't create music, you can't paint, you can't write with all that pressure on you. So if you can find a way to monetize your skill set, I'll tell y'all right now, I sat down for years broke, barely getting by. This is not what I'm not. I didn't hit the jackpot. I had Christmases where I couldn't buy gifts, right? I was broke, but what I didn't do is I didn't despair. I kept learning.
Right.
I kept picking up different skill sets. So like now, even if book sales are slow, I do a lot of freelance work. I ghostwrite. I take everything that I learned to put my own books together, and other people contract me and hire me to do that for them. So I'm fortunate in that I'm still in my lane, but I'm still doing what I love, even though it might not be my own work. If I'm ghostwriting a book for you, I'm putting the same passion in it as if it was my own book. So I'm still loving what I'm doing. So I would just tell people, listen, if it means you gotta wait tables while you want to become an actor, do that.
Right.
Do that. You know, only you know what your end goal is, right? Sometimes you gotta. If your mom's got a basement, your parents got a basement. Hey, sometimes you gotta go live in that attic while you're building what you're building. So it's choices and what you're willing to sacrifice, but it always comes with a sacrifice.
So you're gonna be ghostwriting Reggie's book. So I know you're gonna be ghostwriting Reggie's book when it comes out.
I'm willing. I'm open to it.
So,
yeah, I got some ideas. I got some ideas. I just can't sit down, man. And get on the computer.
I have a lot of clients like that, and so what I usually do is, either me or I have another friend that's a ghostwriter. She really put me on to the business side of it. She or I will interview you, take notes, because I just finished ghostwriting a book for a gentleman where his life experience is totally different from mine. I can't, in my real life relate to his life. But when I wrote chapters for him and sent them back based on her notes, what she took, I had him in tears. Like, how did you do? And I'm like, that's what I do. I take pride in that. You know what I mean? That's what I do.
That's a good talent to have. And everything. Now, how was the book fair? I call it book fair. I know y'all call it that down. But how was the event down in Daytona, man? How was that?
It was great. It was great because Donna M. Gray Banks is the lady who organizes it every year. And what I love about it is she connects. I don't know how she does it. It's like magic, right? It's the most amazing collection of creatives that I've been around, where our personalities match. It's like a reunion when you go back down, because I go every year. So I see some of the same faces every year. And also, not only is it about us sharing our talents, telling our stories, I've been on panels where I'm sharing my knowledge and my experience. You also connect with other creatives where you guys share information, ideas, and then through the course of the year, you do business together as well. So I love that event. I always have a great time down there, and Daytona's a beautiful city.
How long have you known Rodney?
Rodney.
Yonder.
Yeah. Oh, Yonder. Yeah. I met in person for the first time in Daytona.
Oh, okay.
But we've been Facebook buddies for a while.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good dude.
He's a good guy. I've known him for years.
Yeah.
Years.
I know him through his books and his writing. So, we kind of connected on Facebook, and we always go back and forth. But this is the first time we met in person. Great guy. I wish I had more time to hang out with him.
Yeah. I told Donna too, I'm coming down next year,
you should
push my magazine and to pick up some interview some people down there and stuff.
Yes. Sure.
Definitely going to do that next year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And make sure when you go, make sure that you get there on the Thursday. Go to the film festival too. Some amazing talent every year at that film festival.
There's a whole lot of talent out there now. We got some stuff. We just haven't had the opportunity and the monetary funds.
That's right.
Dreams.
That's right. That's what I love about going to the events, because there are so many stories, our stories to tell. that haven't had a chance. They haven't had a chance to shine. And if you pay attention to Hollywood or mainstream, you think that there's only maybe one or two or a handful at a time. No, the talent that I see, man, it's almost like it's oil or diamonds right there. If they just dig a little further, you know. So I love any platform, event space that gives these people an opportunity to shine and showcase what they're doing.
Now you say you do your work independently.
Yes.
So when you do your work as an independent, you have to find a publisher. You have to iron all the details out of getting your book printed. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. All of that is on you. So I wear many hats. So also, aside from writing, I'm always studying. But I tell other authors or anybody doing anything, this is a beautiful time to be alive, because before you really had to either go to school to become an expert in it, or spend decades in an industry, or to go through one of the gatekeepers that decided what got through and what didn't. With all the information that's available to us now, there's no reason why you can't do anything independently. From movies to books to music, all the resources are there. I know guys in Queensbridge projects that shot movies with iPhones. You know what I mean? So, and if you want to know how to do anything, the information is there. You don't even have to. You don't even have to leave your house. You don't even have to turn on the computer. You can look in your phone. All the information is there to show you how to do anything. So, independently, you get to control your IP, your intellectual property, which is important. A lot of people got jammed up by taking the money and not having control over their intellectual property. Right? That's important.
Yeah.
Even when people approach me and ask me, if let's say a major publishing house approached me, what would I want out of the deal? And I said, well, the cash money up front is nice, but the conversations with me, because I've been approached by publishers, but the conversations with me are always more about how can you get my work and my name, which is my brand, in front of more people than I'm able to do on my own. Couple $1,000 is cool, or a nice check is cool, but that's not the end all be all for me, because I've seen authors whose career, they built their careers on, let's say, under a publisher, where the publisher, let's just say, just for example, not saying this is that specific, but let's say Harlequin Romance. That's a brand in and of itself. It's not necessarily about the authors; it's the brand.
Right.
It's just going by Harlequin Romance novels. I've been around since my mom was younger reading books.
Yeah.
But if you don't establish your name as an author, when you stop working for them, now you have to start all over again. And you might have put in 10, 15 years. So in this era that we live in, your name is important.
Right.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. So what do your kids think of Dad and all his writings?
It was, now they're a little bit more used to it, but when they were kids, it was kind of more awesome, because I would go to, like, say I would go to a parent teachers night or go to the school, and I walk into the school. They treat me like a rock star, the teachers. Oh, you're Kai Kelly's dad. You're the author. You know what I mean? So that is great. And they still brag to their friends a little bit. So they love what I do, and I think they get just as excited about it. Like on my last birthday, my son went and got me this amazing cake that looked like a book and a pen and a cigar, and all the gifts that my daughter give me pertains to, because she know I appreciate that more.
Right.
I'm the type of guy, man, I'd rather get a nice pen than a watch. That's how I am. So yeah, they love it. And my son, who didn't like to read growing up, he actually put out his first book a couple years ago. I couldn't believe it, because I used to have to force him. So when he came to me and said, Dad, I want you to check this out, I said, okay. I didn't know what it was, because he's more of an artist. So I'm thinking his artwork. He says, okay, this is his first novel. So I edited it. I showed him how to put it out independently. and he's been doing his thing since also.
Okay, good. Now look, so over the last probably 10, 15 years, seems like everybody been writing a book.
Right.
I mean, everyone has been writing.
Everyone. Right.
Is the quality there? Are they going through the processes of having people to proofread their book and really work with them? Or they just sit down at a computer and just jot down page and page of bad English and all this kind of
I think the accessibility, right, and the way it's easier for anybody to just do it. There are a lot of bad books, right? And I also think there's a little bit of a difference between, not to create like a caste system or to sound bougie, but there's a difference between a book hustler and an author who takes the craft seriously, right? I kind of define a book hustler as somebody who, kind of like just slap something together, put it out there, get a couple dollars, versus someone who is passionate about writing, passionate about telling stories. And so there's a difference, but the thing with that is the talented folks and the people who take it serious, they always outlast the other folks. So in order, it does become more difficult because of the sheer volume of books out there to be seen. And, but I tell every aspiring author this: take the quality serious. Don't skip steps. Because you never know where someone will get the first impression of you from. Right. You don't know which book. You don't know. Even when it comes down to even a post on social media, you never know when someone will get their first impression of your work and your writing. So take it serious. Don't skip the steps. Get it proofread. Get it edited. Hire professionals when you can. And if you can't afford professionals, then what you have to do is like what I did. Sit down and learn the process. Take the time and learn. Yeah.
Reggie and Keith, I was listening to y'all while I was doing some stuff over here at the HI Center and everything. But part of what I was curious about is who is your hardest critic? Because I know that my dad, who used to be a English professor, that literally he has been sometimes I tease him because he can be one of those people that'll let me know if I have written something even in social media that is not grammatically correct. So he would jump on my case and be like, you were not supposed to end that word with at and all of those. You definitely be a sharp critic. So I was just wondering, in your life, who is your sharpest critic at all in that space?
I know I'm up there in the top 10. I overthink, right? I sit down, I pine over it. I have a long, drawn out process because I'm such a perfectionist. I'm such a perfectionist that I'll spend a whole afternoon working on a page, just going back and forth, back and forth. I have a friend, she's shy, so I won't name her, but she is rough. Like, I've sent her books, and she'll say, "Well, it's good," but she'll critique the most important aspects of it for it to work. Where she'll let me know that the story is good, but that beginning you have to do something, or that ending that ain't it. So I'm fortunate to have somebody like that. I call her my muse all the time, but she's I would say I'm the harshest. She's number 2. She's right behind me. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So you could probably write a book in a year and spend another year critiquing and going back and through it, right?
Yeah, because like how my process works now is I write mostly by hand first. Then as I take my handwritten material and I type it, I'm also editing it at the same time, changing how it sounds and fixing little things that I missed and so on and so forth. Then I'll print it out, the whole thing, and get busy with a red pen and start adding details and changing things and moving scenes around just to make sure that, that's why my readers fly through my books, because I have a way of, in one chapter, taking you up, and then right when you caught up in it,
Mm-hmm.
I'll switch up. So now you get caught up in it, and I have a way I do it. And then even after I print it, write it up with the red pen, now I go back and I make changes. I'll read it almost like it's an ebook again, as if I'm just a reader, just to see what's cumbersome, what's awkward, what doesn't flow right. And I think, and it's almost like being an actor, because at each stage of it, I'm a different person.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you mentioned that because Keith, just out of curiosity, how much time when you were working, and you mentioned driving Uber Eats, but when you were working 9 to 5 or your
right.
different jobs, how much time did you spend actually writing doing that work environment? Because actually, when I first came to work this afternoon, because like I said, and Reggie knows this, I have a multitude of jobs, but when I came
Right.
to the Cultural Arts Center, one of my coworkers is a actor, but he is also a writer, and literally that's what he was doing to wrap up his
Yeah,
day. Was he was writing his screenplay, and Dale certainly was doing it during the time that he was here because he had some free time, so he was
yeah,
writing a little bit of his stage play that he's working on currently. So I was just wondering how much did
that's
you actually?
exactly what it's like. When I used to take the subway
Mhm.
to meetings, if I was going somewhere where it's going to be too difficult to find parking, so I'm on the subway. I wrote a good portion of my second book on the subway. I had a little notebook about the size of a cell phone, and I would just be in on the number 4 train with people squeezing in on each side of me, but I would get on at the first stop, so I would always get a seat. So I'll sit down, and then on my way work, and then when I would drive, at first, which is nuts, I would stop at red lights because I have a notebook with me, and I would write at the red lights. But then I got tired of people horning me because I'm sitting at the light turned green and I'm still writing. So I said, well, this is dangerous and you got to stop doing this. So what I did was I got, back then, before Radio Shack pretty much went out of business, I went and got a voice recorder.
Mhm.
So what I would do is I would talk the stories as I drove. And when I get home now, cook dinner for the kids, do homework, put them to bed, and then I would turn on the voice recorder and transcribe what I wrote by hand and then type it up. So it's kind of when you're passionate about it, you find all the little nooks and crannies in your day, all those little empty spaces that you would fill with something else. I tell other authors, like, hey, listen, if this is what you really want to do, you might not be able to watch that reality show this evening, right? You have the time, right? You might have to get up an hour earlier than you normally do. You might have to go to bed an hour later than you normally do. On your lunch break at work, instead of gossiping in the break room, find an empty room. I don't care if it's a broom closet and a flashlight, and do your thing. You have to, again, that comes with sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
You might have to sacrifice that feeling of, it's Friday night. I want to go out to the bar and have a beer. All right, go to the bar. Don't go to the bar and run your jibs. Find a quiet corner, right? Have your drinks and write. So it's just about sacrifice, man. The time is there. You have to carve it out. It's there.
Uh, uh, Keith, the reason I was laughing is because as you were saying that, I literally remembered a friend of mine, and we've lost touch, but he was in Atlanta. He went into Atlanta. It was actually another friend that was a playwright and also into the acting. And I literally remember traveling with him because, like I said, I get around by mass transit, and I remember him literally doing what you just did. He
Yeah,
stopped the car and he started. He said, "Mark, I got to take a break. I got to do this
yeah,
voice. I got to do this voice recording." So he literally did a voice recording while we were going someplace. I don't even remember where we were going, but he stopped the car. He's
yeah,
like, "Mark, I've got hit by inspiration, so I got to stop it right here and I
yeah.
gotta put this down."
Yep. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You'll find a way. You know what I mean? You will.
Before I turn it back over to Reggie and everything, I do have to teach you about something and everything because I know a lot of times, and I'm guilty as well, that when
Mhm.
we are in office environments, they can sometimes give us access to things that we may not have access to all the time and everything. So I was wondering, am I the only one who was guilty of that, or did you use the copier and the phone and other things for business purposes?
Absolutely. Listen, when I wrote my first book, I had a night job.
Uh-huh.
I was the only one in the office. So I used to do the scheduling for the next day. I had to work for an ambulance company. So I had drivers out dispatching. I'm doing I do the medical billing, I do the scheduling. Listen, I got so good at my job that within, I would say, the first 40 minutes, I was done. And then you know what I did? I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. I'm using the computer at work. I'm using the computer at home. 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 I'm using the
Yep.
Type my book, right? I use the copier to print out the pages. Absolutely. I miss those days when I had free pens and free notebooks. I got to go to Staples now.
Yeah, exactly. You had access.
I got
Right there
access.
back over to you,
You,
Reg.
you have to use everything available to you in your environment to get things done. You got to get creative. Don't just be creative with your pen and whatever you're creating.
Right.
Use the resources. And the thing about it is the people around, even your boss sometimes, if they know what you're doing, most people are good natured. I don't believe in this narrative where everybody's a hater and everybody's me. Yeah, you have those people, but if you really pay attention, people around you will help if they know what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? They'll help.
You know, one of the things I heard you stress a lot in the last couple of minutes when you were talking is that to gain, you got to have pain.
Yes. Yep.
If it's worth it to you to get the gain to go to your next level, you got to endure some
You
pain.
gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Like, even if it means like when I said the first year when I took my whole income tax return and bought books,
Mm-hmm.
could have went on vacation. I hadn't been on vacation in years. I could have went on vacation. I could have bought furniture. I could have bought rims for my car. I could have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a matter of a list of priorities. And one thing about this life, whatever you believe, whatever faith, listen, this life will test you to see if you really are about what you say you're about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you fully commit, because you'll never know if, all right, like people will say, wow, Steph Curry is the greatest shooter that ever lived in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, he didn't just wake up as that.
Right.
The amount of shots that he put up and he continues to put up every day is why he's that good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing where, look, it's just like in sports, you'll have an athlete where I always say after athlete gets his first big contract is when you really see who he is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of people will fight in anything, in any field until they get what they believe. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
After they get there is where you see if they're really passionate about it or not. Do you have that same drive? Do you still want it? Do you really love it? Or so life will test you. And if you're not willing to give up a little, then you look, if you have a fruit tree or let's say you have a farm, you can't eat all the cows, you can't eat all the chickens. You need chickens to make more chickens. So guess what? I can't eat that one today, right? I need eggs. I need them to make other chickens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just life period in every aspect. You plant seeds. You can't pull it up too fast. You'll kill the plant. Give it a chance. That's all what I try to encourage people to do is you have to give yourself a chance, and it takes patience.
Right.
And another message that's really important is keep your eyes on your own paper. Meaning, don't watch. Maybe this person got it done in 6 months. It might take you 6 years. I had a friend who he had a friend of his was a millionaire, right? He said that millionaire, the friend of his said, when I'm 25, I want to be a millionaire. 25 came and went. He said, all right, 30. 30 came and went. 40. 40 came and went. That man didn't become a millionaire until he was about 64. And he said, you know what? All the same, better at 64 than never at all. Right? So things happen when it's time for it to happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you got to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like what you said about your friend,
Mhm.
age doesn't have nothing to do with it.
No,
You're gonna get that blessing when that time comes.
that's right. Look, I look at things
Mm-hmm.
that have gone well for me, right? And I'm glad that it just happened now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was 22,
You wouldn't be there.
nah, I'd have been a mess, right? It would have led to disaster.
Uh-huh.
Things happen when things come to you when you're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that you do before you get the blessing is preparation.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I mean, I even look at my life and I'm 66 and I said, gosh, why couldn't I have done this when I was younger? But
Mhm.
it wasn't my time.
It wasn't the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the time.
Yeah. So, I got some stuff in the fire, at my
Right,
age and everything, and I
right.
feel good about it, but
As you
I do
should.
look, I do wish I had done it when I was younger.
We all do that, and I know you're wrapping up, but I do have to tease you because you mentioned Steph Curry, and I mentioned this on our World Politics show, which is earlier today. Steph
Mhm.
Curry has actually said, Reggie, you're going to love this. He said that he's ready to possibly jump into the world of politics. So he said that he's tired of
Mm.
there not being enough positive action done by our politicians. So he said that he's contemplating jumping into the world of politics. So he might just be ready to not just do those amazing 3-point shots, but also
Right,
jump into
Yeah.
political fray.
right.
Well, his wife is pregnant, so that fourth child is on the way. I just don't see him playing no more. Maybe 2 years at the most, no more than three. I think
Mhm.
with that fourth child coming through, that's going to be the motivation. And Golden State is just like the Lakers; they're just going downhill right now. So
Right,
you got
right.
to rebuild. So I doubt he wants to be around for 5 or 6 years trying to rebuild a team.
Yeah, nah. And what I love about what he said in that statement is you don't have to be one thing,
Right.
Mm-mm.
right? You don't have to be one thing, right? This life is people ask me sometimes like why I write in so many different genres. I say because I want to. It's just like music. I don't listen to just one type of music.
Mhm.
This world is a big, beautiful place. Yes, there's ugliness, but it is a wide, beautiful place. And I just feel like while I'm here, I'm gonna try to see and experience and observe as much of it as I can. You know what I mean?
That's what
As
you
much
got
as
to
I can.
do.
That's what you gotta do.
Got to do. So, Keith, real
What's
quick
up?
for the audience,
Hmm.
tell them how they can get your books and how they can contact you, your
Okay.
Facebook page, Instagram, whatever. Give it to them,
All
man.
right. So yeah, all my books you can find on Amazon. Just Keith Kareem Williams on the books. All of them will pop up. The ones I've written, my collaborations with publishers and other authors, everything will come up. If you want to find me, you want to talk to me directly, I answer all my messages on any platform, whether it be Twitter, which is now X, thanks to Elon,
Yeah.
Snapchat, Instagram, even TikTok, which I never thought I would do. All of it you can find me at Reem After Dark, REEM After Dark, one word. Facebook, you can find me Keith Kareem Williams. You can shoot me an email, kkareemwilliams@gmail.com. And for me, it's not just about I'd love if you guys all bought books. That'll be awesome. But even if you're an aspiring author and you want some advice, reach out to me. Like I said, I answer all my messages. Depending on how busy I am, it might take me a day or two, but I answer every single one. Don't be shy. Feel free, reach out, ask the questions, because that's my way of. Like I said, there's so many creative people with so many brilliant ideas that need to get them out. I'm here to help do that.
Mhm.
I believe in that.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. So my people,
Yeah.
I've been sitting here chopping it up with Keith Kareem Williams, who's a great author and screenwriter who's got a ton of books out there.
Hmm.
If I started there, I probably couldn't catch up with him because he probably write 10 more while I'm trying to write one book. But he's a great author and writer. And guys, I want you to go out, purchase his books. Let's support this young man. Go to Amazon, wherever
Thank you.
and order his books. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
got to support small Black business owners. Okay, and that's what we got to do. And then, like I said, if you need some advice, give them a call.
Yes.
Tell them what you're trying to do, and he knows it. He's done it. He done tested the water, so he has a
Yeah.
formula for you.
I was the crash dummy. I took
So
all
you
the
got it, huh?
so you don't have to. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, hit him up, but Keith, I do appreciate you
Thank you, man.
time out from your evening to sit down and talk with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, on Urban Sentinel Live. And like I said, we'll be talking more because look forward before the year out, you'll see Keith in my magazine, and we'll still be chopping it up. But appreciate you all watching the show tonight. You can contact me if you just want some information or you got some suggestions for future shows. You can give me you can shoot me an email at Reginald.Kearney@MarylandDailyExaminer.com. You can hit me up on Instagram, the Urban Sentinel 2, and you can hit me up on Facebook, Reginald Kearney. Okay, Reginald Alpha Man Kearney. So you can find me. So again, until next week, everyone be safe out there. It's a tough world out here. Be safe.
Yes.
Just be safe, okay? And have a good week. Keith, have a good week, man.
You too, my brother. You too.
Man.
Appreciate you.
You guys take care and good night from Urban Sentinel Live.
Good night.